I'm in Boston again. Whenever I'm here, I feel like I just ask so many questions in my head. There's so many different places in my brain that are scratched when I come to cities and just watch people and think about myself in the context of the city. This is so much bigger than I am. The world is so much bigger than I am. I feel very brought outside of my own little world when I'm in the city. There are so many different kinds of people here. I want to sit down with all of them and just hear what they have to say. The humanity is huge and life is so valuable. Each life that is walking through this park is so precious. Being here, being in cities, brings me such a unique feeling of that. When I'm surrounded by so many different kinds of people is when I feel that the most. I say that I'm from Boston. Most people say that they're from Boston, even though they just live in the suburb right outside of the city. We all say we're just from Boston because it's easier. And I think we also have a lot of pride attached to it. It's a very proud thing to be from Boston. We have very big personalities. But I've never lived here. And I almost did. I almost went to college here. But I decided against it because I felt a very strong calling to Nashville, and I wanted to leave Massachusetts and find something new and experience something new. And I'm so glad that I did that. I think it's so important to leave what you know and experience something new. And it's so funny because when I left, I thought I would never want to come back. I was so anxious to get out of my town and leave and move to a city. There's just so many people here, and it's never quiet, and I love that. You have to actively seek out pockets of silence, and that's everywhere in Nashville, and I love that you have to look for that here. Even this quiet is way louder than Nashville's quiet. And so I just wonder, could I live here someday? Would I want to come back to Boston? I feel like I could see myself living here someday, but then again, I don't know. I really want to move to New York. I could also see myself living in Europe for some time. I wonder what it is like to live here. But maybe I just feel that way because I'm foreign to it in a lot of ways. I don't live here. I'm sure that if I did live here, it would lose its spark a little bit because that's what happened when I went to Nashville. I was fascinated by it, and now it's just so regular to me and it doesn't have the same spark that it used to. Same thing with home for me. I did not feel the spark when I was living there. I wanted to get out of it because I hated that there wasn't a spark. But now I miss it all the time, and I'm so excited to go back because I feel the spark from being away for a while. When you grow up in a small town, I think there's either two ways that it could go. You can see it and see that there's comfort and safety in that. Or you can see it and recognize the comfort and safety, and at a young age develop a need to leave that. Most of us just want the comfort and safety. And maybe it's knowing that you always will have it that creates the desire to flee. I can shape whatever I want to in my life right now. If I wanted to, if I really wanted to, if I really, really wanted to, I could pick up everything and move here. There's literally nothing stopping me from doing that. There's nothing stopping me. I could pick up everything and move to New York. There's so much possibility. I'm not tied down to anything right now. But who knows? I have no idea where I'll end up. I can want to be certain places. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to end up there, you know? I went to the MFA, Museum of Fine Art, here, and there's a room just filled with Monet paintings, and it's magical. You walk in, and it's just like 4 huge walls filled with his work, and it's beautiful. I just sat there and I cried. He took the time to intentionally and delicately, with his hands, create tiny strokes of paint to make something huge. Thinking about his perspective sitting there in his gardens and what he saw and how it translates onto the canvas, it just made me feel so much. That's the whole point, is to make people feel. If I'm not making people feel anything, then my job is not complete. I just started tearing up because it was like he just wanted us to feel what he felt. And that's what I want. I want to share how I feel. I'm such a feeler, and I want people to feel from what I do. My voice teacher in high school would always say, like, "What is your job?" He just stopped in the middle of our lesson and asked me that. And I don't remember the answer that I gave, but he said, "Your job is to make people feel." When you go down to the root of all of it, that's it. If you're an artist, you're supposed to make people feel. I think that it just speaks to the vision of God that is in all of us, how we are built with a need to feel from other people. That is the primary reason for art. We're all just a bunch of humans trying to figure it out, and most of the time our words are not enough, and we just have to make something with our hands and do it and be like, "Do you understand now? Do you feel what I feel? Do you see this?" When I was in the room, there were these women who were standing next to me. One of them was telling a story, and they were these women who were dressed to the nines. They were older, and I got the sense that they were old friends. And the woman that was telling the story, she said, and of course they fell in love because it wouldn't be a good story if they didn't, right? Do good stories need love? Is love what makes a good story? I think so. There hasn't been a lot of structure to this, but in conclusion, I love the city. I love the stories that live here. And I wish that I could read all of them. And I'll always have questions about them. And I think the not knowing and the not being able to read every single story is what makes coming to cities so exciting.